friends, and welcome to another meeting of Halloween Addicts Anonymous. This is for the month of November, the year 2023, and I thought we'd squeeze in a little Christmas piece for this year on a simple surface that you can get at your local Dollar Tree. It's called a metal bottle cap, and I think it was like $1.25. And I thought this would make a cute surface for like a larger ornament kind of style. So that's what we're going to be working on this time. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be doing a project in December. I might take December off since it is such a busy month and we're all painting our brains out and shopping and wrapping gifts and getting ready for the holidays. So I'm still on the fence about that. But I thought I'd give us a little Christmas ornament to do for December 2023. Anyway, so I picked up a couple of these little guys the last time I was at Dollar Tree, and they're kind of shiny and bright. And so the first thing I did was to remove this jute hanger, and then I took it out into my garage and I misted my little bottle cap with some matte spray. I didn't do the outside. I wanted to leave that nice and shiny, but I wanted to be able to paint on this, and I wanted the paint to stick. So I always just mist my tin with some matte varnish. You could also use decoupage medium or a metal primer, whatever you prefer. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this inside circle with a coat or two of deep midnight blue. So get out some deep midnight blue. So he's a nice background color for a dark sky. A larger brush would be great. And let's go ahead and get this painted. Now see how nice that works with that mist of matte spray. Doesn't have to be perfect. Never does. It's not going to be. If I'm painting it, it's not going to be perfect. So just give yourself permission to paint in that center with a couple of coats of deep midnight blue. And here we go. And I think it is going to take 2 coats. So I'll probably step away from recording for a moment and come back when this is all painted in. Alright, so 2 coats worked perfectly to cover that, base that in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my tracing because it'll be a little bit easier. And I want to decide where the middle is, so I'm just going to count these creases in between flutes, whatever you want to call them, in between the 2 holes for the hanger. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 4th one is going to be the center. So I'm just going to kind of try to center my little guy in there somewhere. Helps if you cut your tracing out. And I think I want a little piece of tape for this. Not too much. All right. Let's see. All right. So I'm just going to tape this in there for a minute. And then I'm going to put my pattern on. Let me get some white graphite out and slide my graphite under there. And let's get our pattern on. I put the pattern on for the star. Nice fat star. Make sure it's going to go on there. Yep, perfect. And let's put on baby Jesus. A manger. Doesn't have to be perfect. I wonder how much. Okay. We got some hay here. Or straw, whatever. baby Jesus foot. Okay, almost there. And let's go ahead and put the words on too. No stencil for these. These are just easy letterings that you started doing when you were first painting. And if you want to make yours say something else, that's fine. True story, Oh Holy Night, Away in a Manger, any number of things you can put on there. Oops, I guess I need another manger leg. Wouldn't work really well if it didn't have that. All right, let's go ahead and pull that off. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to come in with some desert turquoise. I just want to brighten up and break up that background just a little bit. And it looks like I got a bubble in my background. I'll just fill that up. Must have got it too hot. I know, I'm using my heat gun, so be careful about that. Yeah, that'll work. All right, a little bit of desert turquoise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take an older flat brush. This one doesn't come to a nice chisel edge anymore. And I'm just going to, let me go over here and show you. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of desert turquoise and I'm just going to wipe it. I didn't put any water in my brush. Just kind of wipe it on my palette to get rid of some of the paint because I want more of a dry brush when I go to my piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of scrub this desert turquoise on the background around the design, just so I can break up that background a little bit. So keep it a real dry brush, okay? You don't want to get big streaks. You want it to be very soft. But you want to put enough on there that you can tell you did it, okay? Get over here on the side. And it can get into the area that you're going to paint. It won't matter. I get mine too dry. I can't go very far. Okay. I think that's going to do it. A little bit down here. Alright, so we broke up that background just a little bit. So go ahead and wash that brush out. And the next thing I want to do is I want to get out some warm white. And I'm going to spatter the background just a little bit. Just to add a little bit more interest to the background. So thin down some warm white paint. And blot it off. Do the spattering the way you like to. I'm old school. I learned to do it by beating two brushes together. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't want this to be real heavy. I just want some speckles. I want to be able to tell that I spattered it, but I don't want it to be too terrible. I think that'll work just fine. So we need to let the spatters dry. We're going to come back and we're going to float some shading around this outside edge and around the design itself with some Prussian blue. All right, so let's float some shading with Prussian blue. I'm going to go all the way around the design. just to make it pop off the background a little bit. And it doesn't have to be a perfect float. I usually like to do these floats before I base in things, but sometimes if it's a class or something, I'll do it after things are based in, but before is really easy because then you don't have to worry about getting it on what you've based in. Anyway, just a nice soft float to pop that design off the background a little bit. And when I get in these V areas, I always like to walk the color out a little bit and round those corners. All right. You can already see a difference. That's the design is set above the background a little bit. We moved it forward. And it's a good thing that this doesn't have to be perfect, right? Because I'm not doing a very good job. But it's all right. Alright, I hope you guys have got all your Christmas shopping done already. I have not even started. I always pick a theme for gifts. Last year it was slippers. I haven't decided what this year's going to be yet. I also want to pop a little bit of shading around this star. So it will pop off the background a little bit more. All right, and then the last place I'm going to go is all the way around that outside edge. And if you wanted to get out a larger flat brush to do that, it would be fine. I'm using a 1/2 inch right now. I could probably use a little bit bigger one and get a softer float, but I think this 1/2 inch will be just great for now. All right, we're getting there. Slowly but surely, all this little background work. This will actually be a relatively quick piece, so I think it would be great for your craft shows if you still have some of those going on. All right, and there we go. So let's go ahead and work on little baby Jesus's head and foot. We're going to go ahead and base those in with Coral Cloud or any other flesh color that you happen to have handy. So just a little bit. What we'll probably do is we'll base in some things and let them dry before we go back and paint on them. So Coral Cloud, let's go ahead and base his little feet in. And I know he only has has 3 toes, but this is a primitive piece, right? Well, as primitive as I get. So, there we go. One little foot. And now let's do a little head with those little tiny ears. You know, I usually don't do too many ornaments, but for some reason I wanted to do this one. Okay. Let's make sure I'm staying on camera here. Okay, he's got 2 little ears. I'm going to go ahead and give his foot another coat. Thankfully, I'm not going to paint toenails or anything. Okay, I'm going to dry his head a little bit so I can give it another coat. Doesn't take long to dry on this metal. Okay. All right. There we go. Let's go ahead and base the manger in with sable brown. So get out a little bit of sable brown. My bottle is almost empty. It's probably time to grab a new one. I'm going to paint the manger in with sable brown. I think probably 1 coat will do on this. Alright. Yeah, because the blue back is going to act like a shadow for it, so it'll be good. I think I got a little too much water in my brush. And I'm going to go ahead and paint right through that straw. I'll still be able to see most of the pattern through it. So I'm going to go ahead and it's just going to be easier and it will look better when you start stroking the straw on if there are spots where you can see the manger behind it. Alright, much easier than trying to go around that straw. Alright. And let's go ahead and paint the star in with moon yellow. If you have a stencil, that'd be great. make it easy for you. Just a quick star with moon yellow. Oops, try not to stick your hand in your manger. All right. Boy, a stencil would be really nice. So if I were you, I'd use a stencil. All right. And we won't base the straw in yet until we get the manger done. Just want to give this pointy part a little bit more point. All right. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so let's work on our little baby Jesus. And he's got some little cheeks, and we're going to go ahead and do those with bright salmon. All right, so we're going to dry brush those little cheeks on with bright salmon. So however you like to dry brush, whatever kind of brush you like to use for dry brushing, go ahead and use that. So I'm just going to pretend like his cheeks are kind of lined up with his ears a little bit. So one is going to be a little bit lower than the other. And it's all right that I got onto my manger. It'll be just fine. And this one you're going to see more of it because it sits a little higher. Okay? Right. And now what we want to do is we want to float a bit of a highlight with warm white across the top of his head. Blend it out really well. You don't want it to be a warm white stripe. You want it to be a warm white float. So I'm going to go across the top of his head, like a nice big C stroke. And I'm going to go ahead, get my mop brush and kind of soften that a little bit. And then what I want to do is I want to do the top of his little ears. He's got two of them. And I don't want to forget the tips of his little toes. Nice. I want to get out some dried clay and I'm going to float some shading on our little Jesus. So let's go across the bottom of his face, and that's going to start above that. It's going to be above that hay or straw, or whatever we're going to call it. And here again, I want to soften that a little bit. We want to go on his ears next to his head, because we want them to be separated from his head. So you got two little ears. Oh, cute. And then we want to go on the bottom of his foot. And that's going to get tucked in around the hay. So I just kind of pity pat that shading in there. All right. So let's get out some lamp black and give our little guy some eyes. And I'm not going to get too carried away with these eyes. They're just going to be nice little set downs of lamp black. And if you want to do fancier eyes, you can. But I'm just going to give them a couple little eyes. And as usual, they're not lined up and they're not the same size. Okay? So we need to let those dry, and we'll come back and line a shadow above them, and we'll give them a little highlight dot. So let's move on. Let's do our star. Our star, we need to dry brush some highlighting on it with warm white. So get your dry brush out again. And I'm just going to scrub wherever I can get my dry brush to fit. That one had a little bit of bright salmon in it still. So let's reload a different brush. So I'm just going to scrub some warm white on here. And then I'm going to float shading on it with honey brown. So a little bit of honey brown. And basically you're going to float every edge all the way around the inside of the star. It doesn't have to be perfect, thankfully. Just make sure you keep your hands out of the eyes that you just put down. And there we go. I'm going to take my mop brush and just soften that a little bit. I got outside of my star a little bit, but easy peasy. Fix it with a little bit of Prussian blue. Just clean that up. All right. So, while we're letting that dry, we can go ahead and give our little guy a halo. Now, let me see here. I hadn't planned on a halo, but he needs a halo. So I'm just going to do a little oval kind of around his head. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to float that on with some very well blended out moon yellow. So I'm just going to go around one way, and then I'll come around the other way. And just give him a little halo. Easy peasy. And he has a little warm white highlight in the top of each eye. So just dot that on with your brush, your liner brush. And then I'm going to thin down a little bit of dried clay. And with my tiny liner, I'm just going to line a little shadow above each eye. It's just like outlining the top edge of the eye a little bit, giving him a shadow so his eyes kind of sink into his head a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that, but it really is there, I swear. Now, I think my baby Jesus needs a little curl of hair. So I'm going to give him a little curl. And I'm kind of partial to redheads. So I'm going to give my baby Jesus a little bit of red hair with some Georgia clay. You can give him brown hair, you can give him honey brown hair, you can give him moon yellow hair, whatever you'd like. My little guy is going to have a little tuft of red hair. Right? It doesn't have to be opaque. We'll line a little bit of highlighting on it. There, cute. All right, let's move to the manger. And what we want to do on the manger is we want to dry brush some highlighting on the manger with fawn. So make sure your dry brush is dry. And let's scrub a little fawn across our manger. And this is why it really didn't have to be opaque. Just wait till we add the hay. It's going to look so cute. And let's see. All right. Cool. So now I want to get out burnt umber, and I want to float shading on the manger. So let's start. There are several places that we want to do this. I'm going to start here on the sides first. And I'm going to go down the sides of the legs. And let's do the other side. All right. Make it look a little bit more like wood. Let's go across the top edge, right through where that straw is going to be. And let's find my top brush, soften that a little bit, even though it's going to get covered up. I'm going to go on the legs where they're tucked under the body box of the manger. Cool. Let's go this little top piece. I'm going to go underneath it. Looks like I need a little bit more water in my brush. okay if it's not a good float. It's a very rustic manger. Okay, I'm going to go across the bottom of the legs. And across the bottom of the manger. And across the bottom of that top piece. And it looks pretty scruffy right now, but that's okay. So we're going to take our liner brush now, and we are going to line some wood grain on our manger with some thin burnt umber. So I'm going to start on this top edge, and don't worry about it too much because we have a lot of straw that's going to cover it up. Just line some wood grain across there. Right, looks a little more woody now. And let's do the same thing to the bottom. Well, maybe. Here I want to add a little bit of knots in the wood. And let's see if I can show you how I do a knot. When I want to add a knot hole, I will start on the tip of my liner brush, and wherever I want my knot hole, I stop, smash the brush down, and then pick it back up, and that leaves me a little knot hole. And then you just kind of outline around it to reinforce it. It's really simple. All right, and now the legs. Just a few little things of wood grain on the legs. If you want to do a knot hole, you can. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to come back with a little bit of fawn and my liner brush, and I want to highlight here and there on some of the wood grain. I'm not going to do every single one, but I am going to do around these knot holes just to make them stand out a little bit more. So just hit here and there, lighten up, line a lighter line next to, not on top of. And it can be wherever you'd like. Maybe I'll do here. And a couple on the legs. And that just kind of helps to sell the idea that that's wood grain. And we'll get a couple out here. Even though it's probably going to get covered up. All right, nice manger you got there. So we're going to go back to his little tuft of hair, and let's give him a little bit of a highlight on that. So I'm just going to go from the little curly tip, maybe around. All right. go back to our star. We want to do this before we do the straw. I want to dry brush a glow around the star with moon yellow. So getting my dry brush ready, and I'm just going to go around that star and give it a little bit of a glow. Need a little more glow on this side. Okay, so now this star is kind of shiny. All right, our straw. We want to take a liner brush, and I think this is probably a number 1 or 2, and I'm going to start adding some straw. The pattern there is just a suggestion. I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm just going to start pulling some straw. Just strokes, lines, whatever. If it gets really dry brushy, that's fine. But just think like straw. And we are going to add some other colors to this, so don't try to fill it all in at once. And let's see, got some over here by his foot. So just a little bit of straw, not a little bit, quite a lot really. Let's go over here. Alright, so we getting a good base for our straw. So I'm just going to wash out my brush a little bit, and I'm going to pick up some of that honey brown. I'm going to stroke some honey brown straw in there. Probably not as much as the moon yellow. I just want to get a darker value in there. And it can go places that the yellow didn't. That's fine. And then what I want to do is I want to pull some lighter straw. Just some tufts of white here and there. If you wanted to pull some darker straw, you could always pull in some burnt umber. But there we go, we're getting our straw in there. Make sure you do some short ones. Okay. Now if you wanted to, you could always pull some straw on the ground also. And then, let's see. I think we need to do some lettering. So this is a number 2 brush. And I'm going to do my lettering with moon yellow. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to load my brush with Moon Yellow. It's a little thin down, not very much. And what I like to do is flatten my brush out so it kind of has a squared tip. And that's how I like to do lettering with my liner brush. So I'm going to go Alright, got the O done. Let's do the H. I'm kind of shaky today. And the H has some little stirrups. Just like we used to do lettering years ago. Thankfully, I didn't write a whole lot of stuff on here. Like I said, you can always write whatever you like on here. And let's see, the A has a little stirrup, the B has a little stirrup. And a little exclamation point. Exclamation, not explanation. All right. So now I'm also going to line a little bit of a highlight in the tops of those letters. So I'm going to use the same liner brush and some warm white, and I'm just going to line that warm white in the top just to make those letters stand out a little bit more. So like the top half. And you can see how it's brightened up the letter a little bit. Makes it stand out, makes it more readable. All right, so let's see, what else can we do? I really think we need to do something to these side edges, but I haven't really decided what it is yet. I'm wondering if maybe just some white stripes would be good. So let's try that. Or maybe some blue, of that turquoise blue, pulling some more of that turquoise blue. So I'm going to start at this middle place and just pull a little blue stripe. I think that'll work just fine. So turquoise blue, I added just a touch of warm white, not too much. And all I'm going to do is go around and stripe every other little flute. If you want to do something different, that's fine. It's your little piece. But I wanted to try to keep it simple, because I know how busy we are around this time. Yeah, I like that. I don't think I'm even going to do any highlighting or shading. Just going to paint those little flutes, every other one, with that desert turquoise with a touch of warm white. Boy, I hope this comes out even. Didn't even think about that. Okay. Just to break up that edge a little bit. I think we're going to be good. All right. Oh yeah, I like that. So there you go, my friends. A quick and easy little ornament. I'm going to get into my ribbon drawer and see what kind of ribbon I have that will go with this, and I'll be right back. All right, my friends. So I didn't have any ribbon in my ribbon drawer, so I had to make a quick trip to Hobby Lobby. And, you know, they just don't have a whole lot of turquoise or blue ribbony things. Right now it's all Christmas. And if there was some red or some green in here, that wouldn't be any problem. But I did manage to find a little bit of sparkly ribbon, and I think it's going to work just fine. So this quick and easy piece for you comes with wishes for a great holiday season. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Eat lots of turkey and mashed potatoes. Yum, I love them. And have fun with your Christmas shopping. We'll talk soon. Thanks.